Google wants 200, baby.
You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. What's going on, traders? Welcome back. It's another bright day, and things are moving all around. We'll take a look to see what happened there as we got ADP numbers and PMI. Let's take a look at what happened there, and it's going to be a lot to be looking at as we are getting some down action off of this number. Let's take a look at what happened out there when we start to see a little bit of that leak, and it happened really quickly. Of course, ADP, actually the shakeup that came in here. Let's take a look at the charts here. You guys can see right now the SPY kind of coming down there. Let's go ahead. I'll make this as big as I can here and zoom in a little bit closer on the action. As you guys can see, right around 8:15, we got that downturn. It was a pretty quick one. It was from 597 down $2. It was about 15 minutes really, and it was already starting to come back. We'll see if we can able to actually make a comeback here as we really are starting to pull back. Let's give those numbers that really came in there and really kind of shook things up. And it's kind of interesting that Donald Trump is out there battling with Jerome Powell, the big bad wolf. But ADP non-farm came in at 37,000 versus 111,000. The prior was 60,000. So heading completely in the wrong direction. Could this be what breaks the bulls? We'll find out today, guys. I'm in some trades right now, and I'm thinking about taking profits, but we'll see what happens towards the open. NNE, really my not well traded yesterday, guys. I took profits up there at 33s, but I didn't take enough. I should have been able to take it all out, if not at least with the majority of the position out there. And that's one thing that I'll be working on my swings, guys. I was up more than 10%. Need to try to find that sweet spot. A lot of times for me, that sweet spot was near that 9 or 10%. Sometimes I would get the 15 to 30% runners, but the truth is a 10% run is a really good trade. We just need to find the right risk to reward profile here for the swing trades. As you guys can see, I'm up 3.6% on AMDL. We'll talk a little bit more about that. That's AMD. And then we'll talk about some other names that I have. But that's how I see the market action right now. Of course, we also got some other numbers to come in. We'll be keeping an eye out to see what happens out there. But Donald Trump on Truth Social saying it clearly, at least that's what this says right here, right? Donald Trump posting on Truth Social that it's too late. It's too late. The ADP is out and too late. Powell must now lower the rates. He's unbelievable. Europe has lowered 9 times. Well, yes. This is exactly what you guys are reading. This is the focus, guys. This is what will be talked about all day long about how Jerome Powell does not want to cut. And Trump even got him in his office. You know he pushed, and he's pushing again here publicly that that Powell needs a cut. We'll see what happens there. Pressure being put on the Fed, of course. All right, we'll keep going with the conversations. Let's kick things off to, of course, and none other than the playbook. We'll get to the sunrise report right after that. You guys out there, smash a like. Let's keep things going. It's Trade the Pool, of course. All right, first up on the playlist today, we got to be looking around to see what we can trade, but Grail is on my watch. Says I'm already long it on the swing trade. We'll see if this can actually break to the upside. Kind of trading in this kind of wedge pattern as of late. You can maybe pull this also, but I think this is at the end of the day. I mean, you can look at it on the weekly a little bit. It's been trying to kind of wedge in between here. Really needed to start seeing the breakout towards the 41. If we can get a move back to 45, I think I'll be golden on this move. We'll see what happens. It's a swing/day trade that I would be keeping an eye out. So many traders watching this name. It's definitely in the AI healthcare space, so it's in the right spot. We'll see what happens with this one and see if it can continue to run. TEM, also another one that's on the watch. Recently just got a nice little pop. it's looking like it's trying to have that inside day yesterday. Can we break out above the 65 today? I'll be keeping an eye out on those two healthcare AI names. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to the next one here. We're going to go towards the next stock that I wanted to watch. And this is, of course, none other than AMD, as I'm looking to continue trading this. Of course, yesterday you guys saw me do both trades. I was long AMD on the day trade and taking AMDL on the swing. Well, it's already up there to 117.86. So we're looking good on AMD as we broke out of this flag pattern and now pulled back a little bit of that liquidity scare here at the 110s. And ever since that 110, we've been starting to lift. So in this point, what can I do? I can just literally just continue to follow that hourly trend on the 9 EMA. As long as that can hold, we're looking good. So in my case right now, that's going to be like a 116 hold today. It can definitely maybe touch that line, maybe even go into 116 like whole dollar. But at the same point, at that point, I expect to see this get back up there towards 119. A real nice breakout would be a move back towards 121.80s. If we get back towards 122, we're golden in this, and we can really start to see AMD start to lift off. Of course, I would probably sell a majority of it into that push. But we'll see what happens as I'm looking to get at least up $1 on AMDL. And if I can get up about $1, I can take majority of it off and then look to see what happens to the remainder. Of course, back towards the high, it would be about 659s here. So around the 659s, we're in at 580s. We're almost to that spot there. So as soon as we get towards that, at least near that level, I'll probably start to try to sell some into the push to the 570s and the 680s. We'll see if it can eventually break and go to the 7s and 8s and 9s. That's where I could see this going. Of course, this has been on a declining action. And if it can get back through this kind of trend line and really start to push, get the volume that it needs, AMD could really chug along. We'll see what happens if we can get back to this trend line. That would be a move back to 870s. And where we're looking real pretty at 870. All right, let's keep it going. We'll take a look at some other trading action. Of course, we got one more name to look at here, and we got to be looking around to see what we can find, but this is not a bad one. What about RCAT? RCAT, I got out of this one on Monday, took a loss on this name. This was the first loss in the swing account, but I still see this trade setup, and it's setting up very well here. It's a daily chart, kind of come back here for a break to the upside, and you can see it definitely has made this attempt before. Now we're starting to actually make that rise and hold. So you see on Monday we went above 7, but we couldn't hold it. Yesterday we went to 624, closed there towards 694, high of 732. Now I need to start seeing 7 hold and a break towards 8. We'll see what happens there in RCAT. Can RCAT get going? Of course, a drone player here. And with the attacks that we saw, recent attacks from Ukraine on Russia, we'll see if RCAT can get going. All right, that's going to do it for, of course, the playbook. We still got a lot more stocks that we can watch, right? We can take a look at our watch list and see which stocks are really making moves. Of course, Zscaler as of late, been hot, hot, hot. HIMS, I traded it yesterday. We'll look to see if I traded again today. DocU, I've talked about this one. It's still holding on. I don't know. I don't even understand why, but it's doing really well. It has to do with AI agents. DocU doing really well as a trend trade. This one might be the one that I take a little bit of a swing on. There's some names that I'm thinking about, like Fiverr is one name that I've been thinking about for a while now. It's been holding the daily really well. And I really think if it breaks above 35, this could be a bigger breakout. And of course, we've all seen CoreWeave, man. What a move in CoreWeave. That stock's been an absolute monster. CoreWeave, of course, continues going. It's what CRV, it's CRWV. Yeah. There you go. I had it the whole time. I see our WV up there to 157. If you guys don't remember, right over here on this Thursday, I actually put out a tweet when it was breaking 66 and thinking that it could keep going. Did I think it was going to do 135% off of that? No, but a lot of people are asking, where's the next NVIDIA? You're seeing it right beneath your feet. Right there, CoreWeave. This is not an easy run. We're talking about triple digits from the IPO. Hey, not bad at all. on CoreWeave. And the reason why you're seeing the media not talk about this every day, I think the big boys are making their money in this, and they're trying to stay quiet. All right, guys, we'll see what else is out there. Let's get to the Sunrise Report. Of course, this is where we take a look into the market, tell you why stocks are moving and what's out there right now. All right, guys, the futures action was rising a little bit, but now it's not going to be looking so hot as we got that downturn, of course, on ADP. We'll see what happens there with the stocks today. Of course, NVIDIA was up about 0.7% in the pre-market, regained its crown as the world's most valuable public company, helping lead a broader tech push alongside Broadcom, Meta, and Alphabet. So we'll see what happens on this, and tech run was definitely the move yesterday. We'll see if it can continue. Tariff tensions ease, well, kind of, sort of, increasingly confident that the worst of the tariff storm is over, despite back and forth moves by the Trump administration. The federal court recently, of course, struck down the tariffs, but only for them to be temporarily reinstated via appeal. Investors are shrugging off Trump's latest remarks, calling the dealings with Xi very hard. So, of course, Trump came out and was pretty much saying that he can't get a deal, pretty much. We'll see what happens. China and FXI still hanging on. Tells me more and more we can maybe get an up move in some China names here. So maybe BABA on the dip here doesn't seem too bad. We'll see what happens with some China names today. Let's go to CrowdStrike as we go to the top stock of earnings stock, at least, to talk about here. As it is pulling back, it did do a pullback from all-time highs. And I think this makes sense, right? I mean, I talked about it yesterday. Be careful for this thing running into the report and then taking a little pullback like PanW. But just like PanW came back, I think this one will come back also. Look at PanW. I talked about how this thing wants 200 ever since that down gap. What happened? We down gapped on that Wednesday and came right back up. It's up 9% from that. And PanW is definitely a company you don't have to worry about going bankrupt anytime soon. So there you go. Palo Alto doing really well. And I think it's on a takeoff move here. I'll be watching the weekly to see how much we break out. But above 200, this thing could be a big breakout. We'll see. Now that we're starting to push on this trend line, can we get to 200? It's right there. Just need CrowdStrike to come back. All right, they missed on revenues expectation despite beating the EPS adjusted. 73 cents was the EPS, 65 cent the estimate. Revenues at 1.1 billion in line, net loss at 110.2 versus 42.8 million gained year over year. Issued softer Q2 revenue guidance, 1.14 to 1.15 billion versus a 1.6 billion estimate. Announced a 1 billion share buyback and cut 500 employees in May. CEO George Kurtz saying that our repurchase reflects confidence in CrowdStrike's future. So that's something definitely to point out here. And I'll show you guys a chart. Action there as CrowdStrike has been coming down with the action there. We'll look to see if it bounces back. It came from an all-time high. Can it get the bounce back? Of course. And then PanW is coming back there towards the 200. We'll see if it fills that gap and continues going. It already filled it. Now do we just keep pushing off of that and break the 200? These are cybersecurity names, definitely on the radar. All right, we'll keep it going. We'll take a look at some other names out here. We got some ratings to talk about also, so let's take a look here. Next up, we'll talk about HPE. Let's get to that as we take a look at HPE. Hewlett Packard. Yeah, getting a nice little lift. It was up there towards 25. Now starting to come back there at 1880s. Beat the Q2 expectations there. EPS at 38 cents versus a 32 cent estimate. Revenues at 7.63 billion versus 7.45 billion estimate. So that's what we got there from Hewlett Packard. Nothing that really stands out to me there, but hey, that's how it is there. What's up with Grail? Looks like something happened there. Grail getting some buys. We'll see what happens if that can keep pushing. Watching for that thing to take 40. We'll see what happens out there, guys. All right, we'll see what happens in Asana as it's down big. Can this bounce back? This is how the algos can get it wrong. This thing rocketed on the first report. It went to 2290s, and now it's back to 17. That's what goes to show you. You got to be careful when you're playing earnings. Q2 guidance missed the mark here. EPS, though, came in line, and revenue also soft. So And I'm not sure where they got that pop or how the algos read this as a buy, but definitely got hit hard really quickly. All right, Apple downgraded to hold by Needham tells me to watch out with Apple. But normally these downgrades come in right when they want to start ripping it back. So just keep watching on a long-term trend line approach, right? Like even from this little wick here at the 250s, I draw a trend line to see when do we break that on Apple. If not, we could just keep kind of tumbling down. So like, let's say like for this line, for instance, if we can start to break above that, I'll take a look at Apple. But until then, it's still on a decline and it could just fade back down to the 180s. So we'll see what happens there in Apple. All right. Any other comments here? Let's go ahead. Let me take a look here. Anything else? Pretty much the analysts were stating that there's an expensive valuation, slowing growth, and no iPhone replacement cycle in sight. So things to think about. All right, market sentiment, of course, remains cautiously optimistic with tech leading the tariff easing. And this morning, coming in with a little bit of an ADP scare. We'll see what happens with the market. It's already starting to try to come back. Now, can it come back? We'll have to wait and find out. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on the man himself, Michael Noss, and talk more about the markets. How we doing, Michael?
Another great day to be a bull. Right, another beautiful day in paradise, and I saw a lot of bears getting really loud yesterday for some reason. So I think all-time highs are imminent here for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was definitely gas pedal type of day. I think the big thing though that it was still a little shaky, and that's the one thing that we're seeing. What is it? It's just a constant rotation that I think we're seeing with the stock pickers environment. And like I literally drew the line about that yesterday. I talked about how every time we get to this line, what are we doing? We're going away from it. We're not going to it. And I think that's the important thing to kind of think about, right? Is as long as we don't break this line, as long as we're still on this V-shaped recovery, I think we continue going till we get to that all-time high, which isn't too far, right? It could
2%.
happen in a day, right? It literally could happen in a day. Now, do I feel like we're definitely getting towards that point where gas pedals on, dash for trash, stocks just going up that maybe shouldn't be going up? I think we're definitely getting towards more of that point. So at some point, there is going to be, I think, a big red candle. But the question is, when do we get there, right? And do we break this like kind of green line first? Do we go towards like 612s, 630s, and then start to cut down? That kind of makes more sense, right? Make a new high, then bring them back down 50%, and then we'll see what happens then. But I think right now we're going to just continue to watch to see what happens, right?
Right. So you talked about rotation, and as we know, the old technical analysis saying, and 100% true, rotation is the lifeblood of a bull market. So that's exactly what you want to see in this bull market is that we get more rotation and more rotation continuing. And you also want to understand that at some point there's going to be a pullback. Question is, do we go up 20% and then pull back 5%, and then you've waited for this pullback the whole time and you're better buying now before then? That's kind of the area I'm in, where we've got another 2.5% or so till all-time highs. And then through all-time highs, who knows? Because as we know, they are still short, right? The big guys out there are still a little bit neck short. So,
but this is the perfect time for them to go long.
So, they're going to have to if we keep rallying like this, right? That's the beauty of a lot of people. They like to look at short float in stocks. Most people miss that you want to look at both short float and trend, and both those things are super important. Where, you look at something like an AMC, it's got a fairly bad or fairly high short float, but the shorts are winning. So there's no need for them ever to cover their position ever, right? It's from 450 down to $3. It's never going back to 450.
Yeah.
So short float doesn't matter until trend reverses. So, with this massive short float that we're having in the overall market, we're starting to see all-time highs. And that's probably when brokers are going to start coming knocking and saying, you've got to cover this position. That could get us another 10-ish% above these all-time highs, and then maybe we pull back a couple percent. So, right, does it look more like this, right? Where we break out and then we pull back to retest the breakout, and then we go from there, and then that's the pullback that the bears were looking for, but you're still not getting back anywhere near any of this stuff where they were shorting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more about the economics, and I think that's what you got to be looking at, because it's starting to. So remember, right when we were down at that down spot, right when we were down in that real bearish mentality, what was going on? It was a lot of soft data, right? A lot of forward looking, not the numbers actually coming in. But now the hard data is starting to turn and really starting to show that the economy is slowing down. And this is why I think Trump is so animate about getting rates down faster, because he knows that it's happening. And I'm sure that he has economists on his board that are telling him, if you don't get these interest rates down, it's going to completely stomp on growth. Even though we're seeing this big rise in the stock market, it doesn't mean that the underlying dynamics of the markets are still strong. I think that that's what we're seeing. And it's crazy that the market could go and break all-time high, yet with numbers and actual data starting to point of a slowdown and things. This is why sometimes I remind you guys all the time, markets can stay irrational. It's not about logic. That's not why things trade. That's not why the stock is at this valuation. That's not why the SPY is going to make an all-time high. It's not because it's logical for it to do it.
There's a handful, I think, of assumptions there that I'll push back on. And one is that A, that the market reacts to news, and B, that it reacts late. So basically what you're saying is that the economic numbers are forward-looking and then price is a lagging indicator, right? We have tons and tons of evidence out there that markets turn when the economic numbers are looking the worst. Like, just you can run a simple study of, I'm going to buy every time a recession actually happens. That's the time to buy. It's not the time to short. Markets rip every time a recession is called, because price is forward looking. So the market is not looking at what's going to come out next month. It's looking at what's happening on average 6 to 9 months down the road. So it's assuming that 9 months or a year from now, we're going to be fine, not that we're fine right now. So I think the market's already looking and saying, yeah, we're going to have some slowdown, some economic numbers. What moves the market is not things that we know. Like, if you can see it coming, then it's by definition not that black swan event that causes a bear market. It's the thing that you can't see coming that's usually what ends up hitting us. So that's kind of the pushback I'll give there, is that you just go back through history. The market did not look good, or the numbers did not look good in 2009 when the market ripped. It didn't look good in 2020 when the market was ripping. It didn't look good in 2024 when the market was ripping, right? The market is always this forward-looking entity. That's why I'm one of the reasons that I'm a technical analyst, because my theory of the market, my synopsis of the market, is that the market knows. Price is the forward-looking indicator, or the leading indicator, and then all these economic numbers are lagging indicators. So I think what we would look for in those is not that there is a slowdown, it's that, is the slowdown a surprise, right? And right now, I think if you go look at a lot of the estimates, they're pricing in some sort of economic slowdown. So any news better than that, we could be up even more. The question is it going to be worse than the economists are currently expecting? Because that's what the market's already priced in.
And that's why I think it's a matter of understanding, where do you feel it? Is this illogical for the stocks to be back at all-time highs, with unemployment starting to show rises, and Fed that's still staying tough on interest rates, and a whole bunch of those things just don't make sense, at least in a simple term, to looking at.
If you assume that price is a lagging indicator, right? That the price hasn't already assumed that, yes, we're not getting
Priced
any
in.
sort of, right?
Yeah.
It's all priced in. And then whatever happens 12 months from now, 6 to 12 months on average, is what the market generally prices in. So the real question is, do we already know that if you know, and I know, and everyone knows that the Fed says we're not going to cut, then the market can basically price that in, because then there's only two scenarios: is they don't cut, which we know and we're fine with, or they do cut and that just rips us, right? So now, again, all this stuff is just so priced in that it is the surprise number, and that's why we're really me and Mitch are both really looking at the numbers as they come out, because
Yeah.
if they come out in line, no one cares, right? There's
Yeah,
tons
that
and
doesn't
tons of
matter.
Goldman Sachs is paying, a couple hundred people $1 million a year to predict these numbers and
Mhm.
pricing the market accordingly. The question is, do they come out worse than surprise? We know there's going to be job slowdown, right? We know there's going to be some economic slowdown. That's the market's already looking at that and knows about it. The question is, what is the unknown? So I'm looking at the economic calendar for today, and there's not really much, ISM PMI, but I think we both agree that the jobs report, I think on Friday, is going to be non-farm payrolls. So like we know that there's going to be a slowdown because the prior one was 117 or 177, and we know it's going to be 130. So the market knows that. It's known that for months. Question is, from this 130, if it comes like way higher, way lower, that's where I think the market reaction comes from, not from, the fact that there is an economic slowdown. Because again, if it's listed on this page right here, you better believe Goldman Sachs has known this for ages and ages.
Yeah, I don't know how much they know because they bet I think it was like 80% or 60% for a recession there, and then they're back down towards like 0 or whatever. But I mean, hey, I think at the end of the day, nobody knows. Only guy
Nobody knows, but yeah, it's basically
only guy knows is Trump.
what's
'Cause he
priced
can
in and
move
what's
the markets.
well, yeah, that's that again, that goes a lot to my point too of that's the surprise, right? That's the
That's a
thing,
surprise, man.
right?
You can't hold back the big bad wolf. It's
Yeah.
Trump. But let's get back to the stock market action. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what will probably be talked a lot on CNBC and other news today. Of course, everyone's going to be talking about the kind of soft and hard data, right? That's what you'll see a lot of people mention. And you'll see a lot of analysts start to mention that now we're seeing the separation there.
And if you want
and the
to
change.
follow someone who knows nothing, right? You turn on CNBC. That's why we're here, is because we're actually trading. There's not any of those guys on CNBC that know anything. In fact, there was one of the famous contrarian investors out there. He spends most of his time on CNBC waiting. As soon as they're getting bullish, he's selling. As soon as they're getting bearish, he's buying, because he knows that these people, these reporters, by the time they hit them, talk about it all the time with like the magazine cover indicator, which is one of my favorite indicator. If
Mhm.
you go to The Economist and it starts saying, right, the dollar is really strong, you're like, oh crap, it's probably the top of the dollar, or the economy is really weak. You're like, well, I better take out a second mortgage and buy, because by the time it gets to these guys, it's been just digested through the overall market for ages and ages and ages.
Yeah, and another thing being talked about in the chat, of course, is the tax bill. And Elon being completely against it, flipping on Trump, talking about his big beautiful bill.
Trouble in paradise.
It's not big and beautiful anymore to Elon, and really backlashing against government. But I thought you were a government believer, Elon. What happened there?
Well, that's right. So he spent. Remember, he was going to save $2 trillion from the government. Ended up being like $1 billion, which for the government's just like a line item that wouldn't affect anything. So
Yeah,
imagine going through all that work to only save this tiny little bit amount of money, and then a bill comes through that's like 100x what you just saved by like making everybody hate you and firing a bunch of people and doing all this, and you saved 1/10 of what the dude spent with like a line of a pen. It's like imagine you spend all of your days budgeting your household, and then your wife comes home with like a big fat diamond ring, and you're like,
that's how it works. That's how it works. You make the money, they go spend it, baby.
I cut out Starbucks for 3 months to save like $500, and you just dropped 10 grand on this necklace. Right?
That's
It's
how
the
it works
same kind of
sometimes.
thing.
You're cutting some things off, you're saving some money. All of a sudden, you look outside, Amazon is here with a big box. What
Hmm.
happened, wife?
Every
What are
time.
we doing?
Every time.
All
At least
right,
once a
guys, let's
day.
get to the market. Let's get to some trading action. Of course, yesterday, a lot of stocks came up. There was some mix, but it was a lot of strong action in technology. So I think we continue to watch those names to see what happens there. Of course,
Yep.
I'm long on that AMD, but it was a lot led by that NVIDIA. Of course, NVIDIA is still trying to get through the trend line. What are you feeling about tech overall here?
It's leading. It's leading like it always does,
Yeah,
and like it
CoreWeave,
should.
right? New high.
Yeah,
Uh,
CoreWeave's new high.
Do you
Nvidia is
feel like
looking
me that
great.
they're keeping CoreWeave under wraps? They're not talking about it as much as I think they
There
should be.
are, and this is one of the other thing you got to watch about these news programs. So I've been on CNBC a bunch, like
Yeah.
probably 20 times now. There are certain things you're not allowed to talk about, and generally speaking, IPOs are one of them. They're on the list, and I think a lot of the reason for that is just regulatory nightmares. They don't want you to talk about unproven companies. Same thing as you'll never hear them talk about really smaller stocks, because
Yeah.
anytime they could ever be perceived of potentially doing anything to move anything, they're going to
Which
shut
they
that
do,
down.
but
So that
we
might be
won't
one
hit
of
them.
those,
We
which is
won't
probably
hit
why
them.
there's edge in these too, right? And you got to think too. There's not a lot of coverage in IPOs when it comes to a lot of these big institutions, right? Because
Yeah.
they do it all fundamentally, and they want 3 years of balance sheets that they go through. So that's why there's a lot of traders I know that try to, and they're very happy that there's finally some IPOs, because they find the most edge in these names and in IPOs, because again they're undercovered by the media, they're undercovered by analysts, and it's like Nvidia. Everybody thinks the Nvidia earnings report each quarter is going to be this massive event, and then it gaps just a little bit. It's because everybody in the world is, if Jensen farts, there's like 5 people writing an article about it. Everyone is looking at everything when it comes to Nvidia. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember this when Tesla was the hot stock. They were like
Yeah.
flying drones through things to like know the exact amount of cars, and there's no way Tesla can hide anything anymore. And with Apple, everybody knows 3 months in advance everything that they're going to talk about, right? These things can't be hidden. But you take a company like CoreWeave that I've never heard of before this one happened. So there's probably a lot of these companies that they're just so undercovered. But this is getting a little bit euphoric to me. So you can see I added it to my short list
A
here.
little.
Little, just
I remember when I first mentioned that OpenAI, that was on that first red glimpse that you see on the daily chart right there.
yeah, I
Like
think it was
a
this
day after
candle right
that.
here.
Yeah, like right
Yeah.
after that, like in the 65s going to like the 80s. And I, that's all you need to do right now, guys. Really pay attention to mentions with data center,
Mhm.
NVIDIA, OpenAI. If you see those things in press releases, you see those things in mentions, especially like an APLD that was already hinting towards that. I think we can continue looking for things like this, right? I think that if you're looking for ways to capitalize right now, it's one thing. It's data centers, data centers, data centers. When you think about what we're trading, right? We're thinking small nuclear reactors, things like
Mhm.
that. That's pure data center mentality right now. And I think that
Yeah.
that's why NVIDIA is even holding on here. That's that's data center mentality right now. So focus on data center, I think, as being the theme or like the flavor of the year. Could also be the focus, right? It's AI, but it's data center specific, right? And I think that we're starting to see a shift maybe going into some software stuff. That's why I'm talking about cybersecurity and
Mhm.
things like that. But at the same time, where we really see it is in the physical things, which is the data centers right now. It first started with cloud. Remember the big cloud push? All of a sudden, we were looking at we wanted to know what happened to Azure and what happened to these companies' cloud growth. And then it became the data center because the clouds got so big that you needed to keep the data places, right? So then now they got to create that infrastructure. And as the data centers get built, what will actually come off of those? Well, it's probably going to be a lot of software that builds off of this, all these huge data centers, right? Because you can take all that data and with AI code and create products from it, right? And so I think that we continue to watch software also as a theme that could kick off. I know Salesforce had a tough report. It really wasn't the worst
Mhm.
report. It gapped down. I'm looking for that gap to fill back. We've been seeing too many of these where the report really isn't that bad, like PanW's, where it came down and all of a sudden it's right back, right? So I think we got to continue to watch these to see if we get some more of these software names, like Oracle, a name that's starting to push, showing me that software is pushing, and Oracle might be best of breed here with Salesforce behind it. So that Oracle chart, how do you see that chart, Michael? Does that look strong to you? I think you'd say the same. I mean,
Yep.
the
It's
strength
broken out
there
of a
is
nice
really
base
showing.
back here at 163. So it's
Mhm.
got a lot of room to go. And again, I mentioned this yesterday too, that I've been buying this hack
Hack.
ETF
Yeah, I saw you mention that.
on the way up. So through all-time highs. So yeah, cybersecurity, I definitely is going to be the thing. And then we got to, when it comes to software, you can't forget the big guys, right? Apple,
Yeah.
Google, right? These guys, I bet $1 million. There's a lot of meetings going on
Yeah,
uh,
man.
with those guys saying, okay, we need to get away from hardware for the next 3.5 years until the next election, and focus more on software, because Apple's been doing this forever. I for one, as an Apple fanboy, am paying them like $100 a month for, it's like cloud storage and their TVs and workout apps and games and
Yeah.
music and all kinds of stuff.
Digital
And
business, man. Digital business. We're in the digital business realm. We're in the digital
yeah,
business generation, and
good
there's no
margin too,
reason to
right?
have physicals. Exactly. That's what it's about. It's about the margin search. And of
Yeah.
course, the margins will go down over time, but there's first mover advantage, right? And that's
Hmm.
what I think you're seeing more of, and more focus go to these. And the reason why we talk about this, guys, is that yeah, this is not maybe so much to today's day trade, but how you really find trends to find the trades overall, because you want to be trading the best names in the day trade business, right? So the names that are doing and performing the best, those are probably going to be the best longs, right? The names that are probably getting completely destroyed and not in the areas of growth are going to be probably really good shorts. That's why I talk about this. And it's
Well,
a way
and
for you to find trades overall.
on top of that, it's themes and it's sympathies play, right? So right
Yeah.
now, people are looking at Apple as a hardware company, and
Mhm.
Apple's trying to make itself a software company. So eventually, if that starts to be the case, then you can start to trade these together. Like I remember back in the day, if Netflix reported something, there was a whole bunch of names to go through for a potential trade, like Disney and Paramount, and you'd have these streaming
Rolling.
services in place and in your mind, and it's the same. So if we're talking, another good example is hack, right? This is breaking out to new all-time highs, so it makes sense to go into this ETF, or at the very least in your head have a whole bunch of names that are related to cybersecurity and eventually how they could go, and then also second and third ordered, right? So what I mean by that is that, right, AI was the first mover and the first order play when it came to AI, and now we're talking nuclear and SMR. That's a second or third order. Is okay, if Nvidia is going to build the chips, then who's going to power them? I've even heard an argument. I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a very good investor, and he's looking at different real estate companies, and try to research which of those would be best to slam data centers on, because right, it's how far down do you go the list to find the people that would benefit from the AI play, right? We've already
Yeah.
done semis. That's why I think this charts looked like this for the last couple of years, and will probably continue to look like this for a while, is because we've already priced in everything when it came to semis and the nuclear move.
Exactly.
So, right. So the question is, what's next? And a famous example here was when wind energy started to finally take off out of its infancy. Warren Buffett bought a bunch of railroads. Everyone thought he was insane. He's like, well, how else do you ship the giant turbine, right? You'd ship it on railroads, and he ended up making a killing doing it. And that was a third order play, as opposed to, right, the first order play would be the wind companies, the second order would be who builds the turbines, and the third is who ships them. So yes, always think is when you have a news event, the obvious play is going to be priced in almost instantly, right? We live in
Yeah.
a world where that's done. So down the list, that's maybe where some edges is,
Yeah.
right?
And
The
it's a
stuff
lot
people
of
aren't thinking about.
a lot of watching the trends, not necessarily always just trading the trends, right? A lot of homework needs to be done here. You hear Michael talk about all the time on back testing, and you'll see, well, like we brought on the other trader the other day, right? Your trade checklist, things like that, right? When you stay with trends, you're not the one that gets lost or forgotten when the trend actually happens. But it's the guy that doesn't look at it that all of a sudden comes back and is like, oh man, I knew I should have traded blah, blah, blah. I knew I should have had a piece in blah, blah, blah. But were you watching it? Right? So
Yeah.
that's the important thing. Creating the themes, creating the list, focusing on that at some point you think this theme is going to get hot. And then you wait. And then when it comes, you know the players that you want to come after, right? Then you can use your technical analysis skills, right? I think that when we use these types of mentality where we're trying to combine the skills, combine some story approach, right, with some technicals, it can really kind of lead you into some really high conviction plays. And overall, I mean, dude, the run in software is crazy. Like I look into some of these names I never traded, but these runs and breakouts are no joke, right? Like a company that's sideways for how long? For more than a year, just ripping, right? 67%. Net. Look at this net. Cloudflare went down, what, 46%? Almost a new time high, right? Almost 100% run. Box. Look at this run in Box. This is a cloud computing company, software. All they do is just pretty much provide information like your Google Drive, right? Just rip into the upside, right? Zscaler is a part of that, right? You can just literally move down this list and actually be impressed with a lot of the breakouts that you're seeing on this list. So it tells me more and more that we need to watch these software names. This VR, AR, really strong, starting to come back. Got to continue to watch these names because I think you'll see more and more lifts. And when I see this type of moves, just tells me more and more it could be industry wide, not stock specific, right? That's what we're pointing to. All right, let's get towards the open here. We got about 3 minutes left. What are your top trades you're looking at today? I'm going to go and take one from the chat here that they want to break down. FMST. We'll go to yours right now after this. I know you're probably already into some of these trades, but looking here at a basic materials company or in chemicals. So interesting space to look at because I do think chemicals are something that I'm watching over time. You are on a complete breakout on the weekly. You can tell because it's a complete reversal of volume too. And I think that you start to watch this. I'm not exactly sure what chemicals FMST does, so I would have to look a little bit further into it. Is it batteries? Is it lithium? What do they do, right? So it looks like clean energy, but I'm not specific on this. So I got to know a little bit more about the story to give you the outlook, but just on outlook of the daily chart, holding the 9 EMA on a momentum run, can keep holding it and keep pushing. One good sign, top end of the Bollinger Band, and just holding that top end of the Bollinger Band tells me that this is a strong breakout and it could have some legs. I'll just watch for the short-term moving average pullbacks, opportunities to get in, also opportunities to get out if you're already in, right? So
yeah,
we'll see what happens with this one. I don't know if you know anything about FMST. I know I can take a quick look to see, but I don't know what it really does. Let me see what Benzinga says. Uranium and lithium. Okay, not a bad combo. Not a bad combo to have, right? So
yeah, anything uranium driven like that, I think is
and it's North American. That's another big plus. So North American uranium and lithium exploration company. Good watch, my friend. Good stock. I'll keep it on the radar. It's nothing that I really had on the radar, but this is what it's all about. This is good trading. This stuff is important to look at. Baba looks good on the gap up. What's up with that? You're my Baba expert. I'll kick it to that.
Well, I'll and just to go back, the reason why we were so impressed with that is because that's what we were talking about. Right? You want to find these lesser known type plays that are going to benefit, but aren't going to have all of the the AI kind of coverage and everything from there.
All right, market's open. Let's go trading, team. We'll take a look at
But yeah,
Baba
so
during
just
the
I
open
had
here.
CoreWeave up here. I entered a little bit of a short just on this blue arrow alert on the pre-market. I wanted us to look at Baba here. This is, again, remember with these gaps, right? It's just because it does all its trading in China. It's a Chinese company, so it's already done all its trading today. So this gap up is just a normal gap. If you look back on the chart, this thing always gaps. And it's just because it's been trading for 12 hours already, right? In another country. So I would be careful with those ones as well. So yeah, so CrowdWeave is one that I'm in and watching here. Robinhood actually just triggered, and it looks like I missed that guy here.
All right,
Yeah,
guys,
triggered
watching
right
Hood, the
there.
hood.
So missed that one, but that's fine. That's the nature of it.
Hood.
CrowdWeave, again, the idea is simple, right? We're looking for things that are a little bit overextended on the gap up. We're looking for them to break down the 2-day VWAP, target the 1-day VWAP. With this one, reason I'm kind of stuttering a bit as I'm watching. See if we get a little bit of a flush down to the 150 area. I'll probably take half off the table right away because this one's crazy. So you got to be careful with it, right?
RCAT ripping here, guys. Man, I'm a little frustrated on this one. I played it for the 7th break on Monday. Got out as it came back down. It's starting to get closer to 8 here. Breaking out RCAT.
That's one of those drone players, right?
Yeah, a little frustrated. It just shot way too fast there towards 760s. We'll see if I can get a pullback, but real big cut there. And this is good, looking good because of the daily chart too. So that's my biggest thing on this one. The daily chart just looks pretty as you can break 7. So you see there, nice looking move. We'll see if it gets to 8 today and can keep pushing. I might add to Grail today if it really starts moving above the 40s, but we'll see what happens on that one. AMD starting the day, pulling back a little bit here. We'll see if it can continue the strength. Could come back to the 9 EMA.
Yeah, it's a nice look for sure. Where, we're having a bit of a hold on some of these names that were really, really strong yesterday. And I think that's kind of what we need to see, or what I want to see today. It's not necessarily like TM's doing what TM does. I don't necessarily need to see that though, right? What I want to see is a hold after yesterday, because yesterday we broke that 595.5 that we've always talked about. That's super, super important. So today I'm fine just to see a hold on the market. So any sort of consolidation that we get here, I think is fantastic for what we're looking for.
All right, looking good in that Grail. It's starting to make a little bit of a move there. We'll look for it to break 40s. I can add to that if I need to. That's looking good on the swing trade. Looking at TEM here on 63 pullback. That's a VWAP attempt here. I'll look to see if I can get it. It's a tough play because the daily chart just has a breakout above this 65, so I'm going to try it. But it could come back to the 9 EMA before it does that. That's 60. We'll see what happens. Strong out the gates here. Need a cut underneath that 63 here.
Bit of a rally. So CoreWeave, I did take off some. Just because it's a great trade already. Mostly because the SPY is rallying here pretty hard and it's getting to the pre-market high. So we got to watch that. So anything that I'm short of, I'm obviously a little bit more worried about. Anything that I'm long on, I'm a little bit more worried about there as well, right?
Trying to take a trade off the VWAP here. Got an entry at 62.80s. You guys can always see that on the bottom left. There's a little bit more of a pullback towards the 62.50s. So looking for like the 62.20s to hold here.
SPY is through its pre-market range. Yeah, so SPY is up on the day. Bitcoin is holding and trying to potentially go as well. Everything is looking pretty strong here right off the open. No kind of give back. Again, we do have a number. It's not a huge number, but we do have a number that is coming up fairly soon. So we have to be careful about that.
All right, looking for a 39 75 pullback on Grail to add on the swing. We'll see if I can get that add. Still watching TEM here, starting to come back here. Gonna look for it to get back above 63 really before I look for an add, and then I can maybe risk on the bottom here. But Grail looking pretty good on the swing account now, up about 4%. So what I need to come towards is an understanding of what percentage I want to take on the gains. I feel like yesterday on that NNE, didn't trade it the best. I want to find kind of the sweet spot for me. Sometimes that's between 10 and 15%, depending on the market that we're in. So I think what I'm going to adjust to is more of that lower end, the 10% take, right? So if I get 10% on any one position swing, especially if it's quick, take it and run, right? Because that's just going to help on the other trades. It's not necessarily about that one trade. It's about the next trades that come after that. So we'll see what happens here on TEM on the day trade, but I'm going to keep talking some swing trade strategy of how I'm trying to work the system, right? Choose takeoff there, guys. That's a good move there. So you should see some good stocks starting to push there. We'll see if some leaders are showing up there. Hims out the gates here looking well. RCAT, man, 763s strong. Grail looking good. SMR pushing strong. Zscaler, DocuSign, AUR, MOS looking decent there today. Mara.
I thought it was MOSS for a second. I'm like, wow, if that's even going up, then maybe we are getting the trash running. But no, MOS is a very interesting chart here.
We'll see what happens. A little back and forth chop here. Looking also at NNE to see how it does today. But Grail pushing strong here. We're gonna look for that to really push.
Even the IWM is going, not quite at pre-market highs, but when the IWM participates, that's good. But the Qs nice. Well on their way, the SPY well on its way. And again, what we're looking for is a long-term hold of yesterday's gain. Yesterday's gain is kind of all we needed.
YEX, one of the leading IWM stocks, big pop there from 8. YEX.
Yeah. Of course, YEX. Everyone knows YEX, right? It's one of those things. I've seen that symbol so much. I have no idea what it does, but it pops up on scanners and things all the time. I've probably traded it a few times before. Again, no idea. Don't need to know. It's the beauty of trading.
Don't need to know, man. Palantir getting hit hard today. Now that's one thing that's a little different, right? Not expected. Palantir getting hit hard. It was at all-time highs, I think, so it's kind of expected. Nice graveyard doji candle on that Palantir chart yesterday, showing also the weakness. So graveyard at the top, you don't want to see this candle. That's not a good one to see, right?
Yeah. Well, like but right
at the top. It's a bend. It's a bend shape too, right? Like when you think about here, like you could draw a U. So it just means pullback. It doesn't necessarily mean the whole stock is destroyed, right? But it does give you sign potentially pullback could be happening, right?
We hit an all-time high yesterday, right? So to have it consolidate here, to have it, pull back and dance between 130 and 125, that's amazing. That's what you want to have happen. It hits an all-time high. It digests that for a while. Shorts aren't able to put it down. There's not a lot of people selling. That sideways consolidation, then that could potentially be that next catalyst to move us higher. So again, that's what I'm trying to see with the market. Not with an all-time high, but we talked about this 595.5 was a massive level in the SP 500 for weeks now. So we broke that. Can we just hold on? That's what we're looking for. Can we hold on?
Dude, look at this RCAT. These are the ones that get me a little frustrated, guys. I'll be as honest as I can. And I'm not even paying a TEM and paying attention to TEM. I'm getting wiped out there a little bit. I'll get cut here. But man, this is frustrating, guys. This is one of those where I have it on the radar. They just gapped it up overnight. And I had to buy it. I had to chase if I wanted this. But look at it. Such a nice setup. The reason why I was on my playbook this morning, but it's already starting to move there. So Hey, at least not a bad one. Sometimes you can stay on them. Sometimes you can't play them the best. That's the idea here, though, right? Staying on
Right.
this name and staying with it, right? Looking through it, looking at the story that could be coming to this, right? How investors could come to this is how I was always watching this. Now the key is maybe take it at that 7 in the pre-market. I was looking for some type of dip. There was no dip here to have. It was just strength out the gates.
Yeah, so Tax saying, yeah, uranium is still strong. Again, it seems like it's one of those that this is the risk on areas to watch, right? Because it's a very speculative way to bet on AI. So if SMR and NNE and all these things are holding well, that's kind of what we need to see, right? It's kind of same with QBT and all these ones, these quantum type names, QBTS, I think the one that I'm in. They're consolidating here. They're not moving with the market, but this is, again, the speculative side of things are really, right? The small nuclear reactors, drones, and quantum computers, right? That's the idea it as well.
Wow. Sometimes
that
that strategy playbook that Trade the Pool puts out, man, they're so good.
So far, so good across the board. Again, I kind of, it's weird. I kind of don't want us to get too extended today. I kind of just want us to like stick the landing and just give like 2-3 days of kind of showing the bears that we're not going to crash back down to that range. It could just be through ripping higher, but I would just like some sturdy days, right? So where we get little dips and they get bought up, and little dips and they get bought up. Like yesterday. Yesterday was a perfect example of a sturdy day. Massive trend all day long, slow grind higher. We did a little bit of a dip into the end of the day, and that got bought up immediately. But a nice slow grind higher pretty much the entire day. That's the kind of action that I want to see here. I don't want us to rip too fast out of the gate. Every time things buy, every time things dip, I want to see buyers in it. Again, just to show the bears. I've been saying it the whole way up. This is going to be the most hated all-time highs in history because there's so many people who are like, oh, fundamental this and fundamental just breaks all-time highs. Like, it is what it is.
All right, guys.
And the more they are mad.
Loss on TM at the beginning here. Might get back in it here at the 62.20s. I'm just looking at it.
Jeez, that's a round trip on TM.
Yeah, no, I did do round trip there, and I wasn't paying attention to it, so it's my fault. Should have got out there at the 62.60s. Was just looking at that RCAT too much.
TSLZ, that's an interesting one for the 2 times inverse.
Q's is SPY getting weaker. Yeah, SPY's the one showing a little weakness.
Yeah, we broke through all-time highs. Now we're pulling back. The question is, do we hold that or do we hold VWAP at 597? Again, this is what I want to see. Not a huge rip out, just, you know. NVIDIA is just showing up on my list here for a potential trade short. That's just not, that's a negative risk reward trade. So I just can't bring myself to do that. Robinhood was the miss for sure. That happened like right on the bell. CrowdWeave or CoreWeave is doing well, right? I'm out most. I'm looking for a little bit of an extension there. And ASAN is the other one that I'm watching here for a bounce if we get that a little bit later in the day. Right, you can see this is just the setup. Right, gaps down, spends most of its morning under VWAP and go through. Again, the only trade I've taken so far is this CoreWeave. I took a little bit here, or I took it like 2 minutes before the market opened, and then when it flushed down to 150, I got out some of the position. And then when it flushed down to 149, I got out of some of the positions. So I'm just holding some. And I'll hold the rest either to the target at 142 or a 2-minute close over VWAP. It'll be time to go. If the market's going to pull back, it's going to help with that. We had this strong opening drive. So the fact that it's going down when the market was going up, that's a good thing. So if the market goes down, it may go down as well. Again, this economic calendar, we got 14 minutes to a bunch of ISM, PMI. There is one 3-star number here. Might react a little bit like the whatever number we had yesterday, where the market kind of chilled out a little bit before, and then after the number came out, it was free to move on these very short periods of time, right? We obviously care about what these numbers are, just to see. I mean, is it a big surprise? It's more about people turning systems off, I think, than anything. Where you turn the system off when it's a big surprise, or just in case it's a big surprise, and then if it comes out in line and nobody cares, then you flip the system back on.
Uber with a nice breakout today, guys. We'll look for that to pull back a little bit to see if I can get that back towards VWAP. It's pretty strong right now, but Uber, pretty strong breakout today.
And look at where it's happening too, right? I just brought up the chart. I had this already drawn in. This massive level of prior resistance, support. So yeah, 182 or 82. It seems to be the big level that it's playing off of there.
Yeah, I see that clearly, and I like this name, especially this year.
AVGO, new all-time highs.
There's TEM starting to come back to 62. I wanted to buy 62, and it goes, what does it do? Freaking 70-cent pop in like a second. So I'm trying to get in here, but it's hard to I hate risking on the bottom of the 1 minute candle. Like, that just seems like just unnecessary risk sometimes. And this is clearly one that now I got to chase if I want to get in here. So it's just frustrating there to see that quick whipsaw through 62. I was waiting for TM to get back to 62 to buy it back, and then it just goes in like less than 2 or 3 seconds. It popped like 50 cents there. So now I'm just kind of stuck here, looking to see if I can just jump up and chase, or do I let it go?
Chasing's usually not the move.
That's hard, the hard part, man. It's just
saying.
It's like literally lost money on a position that I shouldn't have lost money on. So that's just tough.
The need for revenge, the want for revenge.
I hate TEM. I hate TEM, guys.
I know a lot of even quants like myself that are fully systematic, and they have what they call a shit list, and it's just an Excel spreadsheet that the robot first looks at and says, don't trade these symbols. And they just, if they end up getting whipped out enough on them, they just put a symbol on the list, and the robots will not trade those symbols. It's actually fairly common, and it's one of those you'll see even quants start to get superstitious. APLD is looking good. This is the level, right? This is the 10, call it 1050 to 1150 level. It's through that now at 1250. Could have a lot of people kind of caught off guard if things happen as well, right?
Yeah, AVGO leading the market up there in the Qs, looking really well.
Yeah. TSLA.
What do you guys think about Bull? Was mentioned in the chat. I'm leaving it alone until it really starts showing some momentum. It's just done nothing.
Yeah, it's falling knife right now. I think there's still maybe an unwind happening from the people who got sucked in. Just imagine buying this thing at 80 and then selling it at 10, just a handful of days later.
Should have been is we need to short this bad boy, but we need to find ways to manage the risk. So it has to be maybe shorting it and then using some type of options to hedge or something like that.
Yeah.
But the problem is a lot of times when these names go like that, the options become so expensive, it's nearly impossible to get after too. So,
well, and I've shared this story before, but for those who didn't, right? The initial GameStop pop right here, I think this day right here, I started buying puts. I'm like, this is the dumbest crap ever. I risked like 30 or 40 grand on just buying puts. I'm like, there's just no way. This is ridiculous. And then I was right. It completely fell apart. But I made like a tiny amount of money on being that right and taking that big of a bet, because what Mitch was saying, that the volatility was so inflated right here that as it sold off, the volatility also crushed at the same time. So the amount of money I made on that position versus what I should have on the fact that it collapsed from this is all post split prices, but $100 down to 10 in just a handful of days was just nothing. So it's one of those. Yeah, you got to be really careful that when these things are moving, the options are just going to be so inflated that you can be like I was right on direction and the thing just collapsed. And then again, the amount of money I made on it was just not at all worth the risk that I took. And that was kind of one of my first big lessons in volatility and options.
All right. Seeing some pullback in some names out there that I'm looking at. BEP, we'll keep an eye out on that to get back up today. Just hit hard there to 24, but I'm not touching it right now. Market's still kind of fading back a little bit. What you got, my friend?
Well, just a guy saying you should have sold the calls in GMEs. Well, that's a death sentence as well, right? Because, if I was wrong, with buying puts, I defined my risk, right? I said, this is crazy. This is an event that's never happened before in like the history of the markets. I'm going to take the other side of it. Selling calls, if it had doubled from there, which I don't know if anyone was trading that time, but things were getting wacky, right? There's still conspiracy theorists out there that, there's a billion GME shorts and blah, blah, crazy people. But GME could have doubled again, and then I could have lost the house, right? So it's one of those, you don't just take the other side of it, right? Call spreads could have done okay, but then I'm capping my risk, right? It shows you that when these spikes happen, it is very hard to express an instrument for them. So
Quantum coming down fast here, guys. We might just start to see a little bit of a change here in trend, at least from what I'm seeing out there. It doesn't look as good, and it's really starting to come down. IonQ coming down fast today. A lot of bull traps is what I'm seeing. A lot of moves right back down below the VWAPs. So just be careful out there. A lot of green out the gates, and now since about 9:45, I'm seeing a bunch of red. So just be careful out there.
Took a little short here in Hood. Just gave me a second chance to get in. Bounced, failed on VWAP. It's going to see the blue line. Targeting a 2-day VWAP. So that's like a 1.8R trade. So I'll take that one. And then CRWV. Right, CoreWeave
right there.
Still in, just not doing anything. Tesla, they're saying free fall. I don't know if I'd go that far. It's down to prices not seen since Monday. This is a little bit.
This is also just on Elon's comments, guys. This is an Elon's comment flush, right? So easy to piss off the one side that was supporting him, right?
Because he burnt the bridge with one side, and now he
burned the bridge with the other side that was supporting him, right? So the easiest way to come out with negativity on Elon today is to do this, and then you'll see a lot of talk about that. Is Elon ruining the brand with his voice? Things like that.
Again.
So get ready.
I've heard that talk with Elon and Tesla for a millennia. It seems like now.
It could have been a great trade today. Let's be honest. It could have been an awesome trade today to make, right? That's a psychological trade, right? That's not this is a technical move here. I don't think this is a technical move. I think this is just more of an ability to break it, right? And then yesterday you undercut the 9 EMA on Monday, you bring it back on Tuesday, and then you flush it through it today. Yeah, that's going to be tough to play there. So we'll see what happens there. I was actually up big on Tesla yesterday, and then it came back all the way and stopped me back out. So that just goes to show you, right? When you see that type of move, just showing you the momentum dying out.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great quote, right? The smart money doesn't follow chatter, right? Reactionary retail traders follow chatter. Smart money they follow trends, they follow themes, they follow grand ideas. But I would be interested to see big support here. So if we do continue this sell around 333, right? A lot of support right there. So the question is, what happens if we get there, right? Is that another buying opportunity like the last 1, 2, 3 times we got there? That was a buying opportunity. Is a buying opportunity again? Do buyers step in before that price? That's interesting. So I'm actually adding Tesla here I just convinced myself to the long algo. If we get back through VWAP later in the day, I'll buy some of that, because again, this one's been a heck of a move. I full disclosure, I'm long it in my long-term account around this 288, or I bought some at 200, 250, and then 288. So I was kind of buying in the zone, because again, you don't fade price, you fade positioning. And this was, you got to remember, down here everyone was saying, oh, he's hurting the brand and they're burning Teslas and blah 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 blah. And then from there, it rockets 50%. So I wonder if this is going to be the same thing, where maybe we get a little bit of a dip or a pullback, and I could reload some of the shares that I sold if they hate them. But yeah, seeing that. So yeah, if we get kind of under this price and then pop from there, that could be interesting. But question is, do we, if we get back through VWAP today, just for a day trade, I think that might be an interesting one to take back to the 2-day VWAP. Because you're mentioning the bill here of losing the EV credit, but I can't imagine that's new news today. Go over to you here, TM.
Might get a quick stop out on this one. Looking for it to get right above the 6230s and push towards right back to the kind of the 9 EMA 6280s is what I'm trying to see here really quickly. If not, cut it right towards 62. You see, it's testing back right now. Might cut me through the 62s right here.
SPY being a little bit range bound here. It's sitting right on VWAP. It's been doing that for about 10 minutes. Remember, we have that ISM manufacturing in 4 minutes from now. So it might just be a little pause, or 3 minutes pause while we wait for all of that to come in, and then we go from there. And then the only thing we have into the rest of the day is like crude oil that no one really cares about, and Fed Cook, who I've never heard of before. So I don't think anyone cares.
You don't know Fed Cook, bro? Come on, he cooks. Let him cook.
It's got a better name than Goolsby. Poor Goolsby.
Or Barkin.
Yeah, Barkin
barks, man. That boy barks. That boy comes in here barking.
Exited CoreWeave here, just because it's gotten 2-minute close back through VWAP. So I'm out. All in all, a good trade. Got some good exits at 150, 149, and then out the rest just for a small little gain. And then my hood here, not good. Hood has done pretty much nothing. So this one might be a little bit of a stop. But I took this one a little bit smaller just because I missed that opening drive.
Not seeing the TEM come back here. I'm seeing the Qs pull back a little bit. I'm trying my best to hold on right now to the risk and see what happens here.
Yeah, the SPY is just waiting, resting 2 more minutes until we get something. So that should be the thing, hopefully, that gets us, either to break down through VWAP or to bounce off VWAP. It's one of those, again, if you know there's a number in a minute, you just wait until that number comes out, or you take your bet on which way it's going to happen. So far, all the bounces to VWAP have been bought pretty aggressively. So that's a good one to the bull side. And again, this is the kind of action that I was talking about that I want to see. We pull back a little bit. There are buyers on this dip. If those buyers hold and we move higher, I don't want us to explode higher. I want a little bit higher and then pull back, and just to show the bears that every time we dip, there is a buyer there, because there's nothing is going to get them more mad than that kind of slow grind of a price action.
All right, might have to get out here on TEM, guys. Take my hit. Let's see what happens. I'm trying to hold on right now, but it's looking like it's going to kick me out here. I wanted to cut that 6180s, and it's holding right now in the 6190s. And set what it's doing is it's trying to hit the 6180 stop. So it's spreading out there. The spread was only about 2 cents, but why did it go 10 cents there? For a reason. I'm sure I'm not the only one looking to stop out at that spot. So the stops are waiting there, and it's spread it out, trying to grab some there. So now that it's back to the 62, I definitely know that that's the spot to get out. I'm still not showing my hand and letting go of the stop, because if I do, I'm telling you, it works like cake water, guys. You let it go, it comes right to you. That's just the way the algos work,
Oof.
man.
Let's so there's a number, and
There's a number.
she didn't like it. It blew down
Didn't
right
like
off
it.
the jump. So
Gonna get
let's
hit
see if
here,
that was just
more
a
than likely.
knee-jerk reaction
Yeah, I
or
got hit there in TEM, and it could come back there, but I can't take the pain here. This is just how the trading's been right now, and it seems like today's just not it for me. I'll maybe take one more trade, but strike two, I'm pretty much out for the day. And it sucks because I had such good play in an RCAD. It's at VWAP now. I could play it here, but it's kind of like the only stock that I could play because it's on my list. So you got to get it near the VWAP though. It's 775.
so let's see, right?
I'm already way too
These
far.
numbers are sometimes right. These numbers are sometimes just knee-jerk reactions. So that's why I'm really zoomed into this 2-minute candle. Again, we had a gap down on the 2-minute and then just completely flush. So the first algo to the gate saw whatever it was and said that's a bad number. And then we sold pretty dramatically. Question is, does it just get bought right back up? Again, that's the evidence of that this breakout is going to hold, is that if people look at this little dip and say, great, finally, buying opportunity. So we will see.
RCAT right there on the 8s, but I can't take myself to buy it right now. ARM cutting down fast there. The 128, Q's barely hanging on here. Maybe we get a pullback day. I'm not sure. I think it's in the bigger trend, still looking fine. Because if you look on the hourly, you see the hourly support still holding well there. But if it cracks to 526, is just scary.
It's getting bought back up for now. So this is the second reaction after that news. The first reaction was obviously bearish. And now we're getting bought right back up here. 597.5 and getting bought up quickly. So just a bottoming. Now it's like one of those, I always sit out the first 2-minute candle and then we see what happens on the next 2-minute candle. If we close up here, then that was just a massive flush. If we break this low, this wick low, then we could potentially be going down, and we have to look at the 2-day VWAP at 595.5. And you guys should remember that number because that was this breakout point that we've been talking about for a month now. So, it's that the first move you kind of sit out of because those can be a knee-jerk reaction, and then you wait, give it a couple minutes to settle down, and then if you get your direction a little bit after that, right? There's times that doesn't look back, right? It makes a move and away it goes, but how are you going to predict those anyway, right? So
yeah, I think we're looking like a pullback. I know that I might be in the small camp there, but just see what I'm seeing right now on the tape.
Yeah, again, we'll see. Just a couple minutes after news, we got to wait. Again, nothing till the end of the day now. So there's nothing on the economic calendar. That was it. That's what people were waiting for, and now we're seeing what the actual move is here.
Yeah, I'm taking a shot there. I got the VXX here for the down action move here. Gonna have to be focused on essentially the swing trades to see how red we go here, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, looking at Hood just to see if we do get a little bit of a pullback in the market. Does it get to my target? That's currently the kind of only open trade that I have right now.
I like that trade on Hood.
We'll see. It really all depends on the market.
A good look too there. Like coin going through like the 256 would be a good look for Hood to continue the weakness through the 71. I think you can get to the 71 on Hood. That's just from what I see.
ASAN. All right. So I heard the British man yell. So I am in ASAN. This one's going to be one that's probably going to take a long time to develop one way or the other. Stop is way down here. And then again, profit target, 2-day VWAP is above. That gets to about a 2R type of trade there. Again, the idea is spent the whole morning under VWAP, trying to break through. It's like barely, I think it's above. It got through VWAP by like a tick. I generally like to see a little bit more, but that's the system, and we trade the system.
All right, guys. Setting a stop for Grail. I actually added here around break even. So got 39.16s on Grail. I'll look to see if that one keeps going, but taking some separate trades here. You see day trade looking for a little bit of the pullback. Swing trade, still looking to hold on to my longs on AMD and Grail.
Whatever this guy is, I got bought into. I heard the first swing.
I
Heard the British man yell about that.
It's a known stock.
Why? It's
a known one. I know about it.
177. So that's just a couple days swing on that guy.
All right.
SPY still good. Working itself through.
Looking good. Looking like we're getting that down action. The slippage. There you go. Q's slipping a little further. I might add here and go for the win on the VIX.
So the question is, if we pull back, do we come back to 595.5? And then if we hold that and then we push higher, that's what we need to see. What we don't want to see is into the 592s, 591s, because that might signal this is a bit of a failed breakout. And then we may re-enter this range, which is annoying and frustrating and not fun if we re-enter this range. So I want to see us hold. Again, I would love a rest day. If you have a big breakout that everybody is watching and then the next day you just chill out, that's a net positive. So we're getting close to the low of that candle. I think through the low of that candle, we flush a bit. And then again, we have pre-market lows and the 2-day VWAP and that important number that we all broke out of at 595.5. So that's the area for me to watch.
All right, guys, looking to sell some here on the rip here.
Hood is getting close. I'll just leave this up, see if we trigger here. Again, I just got an order out, the 2-day VWAP, and that's at like 71.35, I think I have it at. So we just need a little bit of a push down. I've got my finger on the trigger just in case we failed here. So,
all right, trying to get this to continue breaking out. I got a good position here in the VIX, trying not to lose on the position, but at the same time, trying to push it here to see if I can get the continued breakdown in the Qs. We're getting really close to the low of the day in the pre-market, which was around the 526.50s, which was on the ADP number, right? Let's see if we cut through that. That's a big support, 526.50s here. Let's go, let's go.
SMR.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of actions like that, like Palantir is dropping fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's keeping me in the trade right now. I might even go to short like a HIMS. You see it dropping fast there.
Of course, my hood is not
Man,
it's not triggering the out.
Grail like that. Me out right now. It's going down fast, and it was up today, really good. This is where it's really hard to play Grail. I will say that.
Do you guys stop opening orders at 11? My bot will trade all day. I stop watching it intently after 11. I think a lot of discretionary traders stop at 11 as well. That's generally speaking
took out a little
market
piece.
Dies out. That's when things the market starts to chill out. Volatility is removed. Right? It becomes much harder there. And there's the British man. Gave me a yell. So that is Hood out. So we had CoreWeave was okay. It was a good trade. Wasn't to target. Hood went all the way to target, but of course, like I said, I took that a little smaller. Then I have my ASAN long, which is actually doing pretty well considering what the market is doing. So again, we'll just stop right here. 2-day VWAP target. But yeah, the bot will trade all day, but most discretionary traders stop. So far, look at this. The yellow line is the 2-day VWAP. We got right there to the tick, 595.5, and we're bouncing. So let's see if that low holds, because that was very interesting. Again, could do something like it did yesterday. Right? Remember yesterday morning? If you guys were here, if you're not, what were you doing? But we had that undercut and then ripped. I'm not expecting that today, just because, again, I think the market needs to rest after that crazy, like, trend days are rare in the market. I think it's like 80% of the time the market is range bound. 20% of the time you get a trend like that in recent studies. And yeah, so that was definitely a trend day. So to have them back to back would be pretty rare. But so far, like actually to the tick, like the low is 595.49 and the 2-day VWAP is 595.48. So it bounced to the penny at that price. So if that
Big
holds.
watch here, guys. Q's trying to recover that 526.50s. Look how it's a hammer candle right there. And where does the bullish engulfing candle come in? Comes in right a little below that. Now I'm looking for that 526.50s to be a big spot here. If we can break it again, I think we keep going down. If we don't even approach it here, it could just be the scoop back. What's telling me that? Hammer candle, bullish engulfing candle, right? So just watching the Q's here to see if we reject and hit the 9 and come right back down, or do we go back to 528s here?
Yeah, so let's see the 2-day view up on the Qs. Let's see if that's, yeah, that was pretty close as well, but on the SPY it was perfect, like to the tick. So that could be that there was a bot waiting, and we'll see if we get a little bit of push through there. We have Bitcoin holding on, down about 1% compared to the market. And then if we kind of go through a lot of these ETFs, we have the Qs up, SPY's up, IWM is down because the IWM just can never go up. You can't get these small caps to do anything. Every other major sector I'm looking at is up.
Yeah,
but
man.
It's
also
IWM.
Look for the IWM to actually get strong once they actually cut rates. I think it's withholding.
It's pure rate. There's so many in the IWM. It's like
so many
half
crap companies.
Well, it's half small biotechs and then like 30 or 40% small banks, and both of those things need lower rates in order to make a bunch of money. So it's 100% a rates play. Just hilarious. There was all these papers written on a small cap premium, that small cap should trade as a premium because they're more risky, and there's still people that are following that line of thinking even after years and years of large cap dramatic outperformance.
Added there, guys, on the VXX here. Got to hold it really tight and look to see if we just get this move right back down on the Qs. I see that rejection there. I'm going to take the shot here that the Qs go right back to the lows here. We'll see what happens. There we go. Good first spike there.
Yeah, so that's going to be the real question. That was a big spike down after the news and then a rally. Same thing that happened yesterday. So if that rally breaks, maybe we get into yesterday's range a little bit, right? We gapped up quite a bit today. So we could sell off 1-2% from here, let's say 0.5% to 1%. And we're still above yesterday's low. It's still a higher low. So there's some room to the downside. Just see if that was a kind of ultimate low or whether that was just kind of a faking low. You know, do we do what we did yesterday?
Good look there on the VIX for me, at least, guys. A quick spike off the 90 EMA tells me that I'm at least timed right here. Let's see what happens on the trade. Can we get the breakdown on the Qs and the SPY here?
Yeah, because we have nothing in the way, so it is pure price action.
Yeah.
You know, we're just in a wait and see mode.
All right, guys, we'll see what happens here. I think you got to be really on the alert here.
Yeah, MSTR attack is definitely going to be, well, MSTR obviously is moving lockstep with GameStop and then, or with Bitcoin, and then GameStop's just in that bucket now as well with Bitcoin. It's one of those things. If you make a big stink about adding Bitcoin to your balance sheet, people have a real-time price of what your balance sheet is worth. So they're going to trade it real-time with what it's worth, especially for crap companies that don't do anything except hold Bitcoin, right? GameStop is not a company that
That's not a business strategy?
They're estimated to make 0.08 cents per share. It's like, oh, congratulations. Like,
can I just be a company and open a whole bunch of bonds right now?
So yeah, it's and yeah, same with MicroStrategy. I was at a conference once. I asked like 10 people what MicroStrategy does other than Bitcoin, and 0 people knew the answer. So these are Bitcoin proxies, right? At least they lose a little bit less money than, you know, some of the miners. But yeah, you're tying your fate 100% to the price of Bitcoin. And right now it's struggling a bit. It's been frustrating because Every time it goes down, there's buyers. Every time it goes up, there's sellers. We're very range bound, which, seeing the movement from the market finally getting out of that range and not having Bitcoin participate is definitely a bit of a head scratcher, where we would hope that you get the market move and a pop. I was talking to a group of smart traders, and one of them brought up a point that, well, if Bitcoin's going to be digital gold, instead of looking at Bitcoin as a risk asset, maybe we should change our thinking there. And he proposed using the Bitcoin Ethereum, this pair right here, as the new risk asset to look at in the crypto space. Because if Bitcoin's going to look at digital gold, it might start moving more with gold and less with as a risk asset, as a crypto asset. So it's an interesting thought. I may have to rework my thinking of that here, and maybe not look at it so much as we need Bitcoin to break out in order for the market to hold its gain. But jury's still out on that. Back through VWAP on the SPY, looking a lot like, again, if we zoom back so far, a lot of things can change. Looking a lot like yesterday, where we had that sell off. Remember, we had a number out. We had a sell off after the number. We put in that undercut. We ripped all day long. So it might be time to watch some of these undercut rallies. I'm glad I got out of my hood. And the only trade I have on is ASAN, which didn't go down when the market went down, but it's not going up when the market goes up. So this might end up just not being a good one for me today.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit of a choppy day, guys. Be careful out there. I think you're seeing traps on both sides. And when we see traps on both sides, we need to sometimes just stay patient and wait for the range to actually break. Trying to take too many trades in between. I think it's more about like how I am, where I'm 2 strikes in, right? I'm already in a third trade. That might be the wrong move, right? And I think the big part of that is that, what am I doing? I'm over trading in between the range right now.
Yeah, and it's this range, I think, is healthy overall, because we just broke out of that important level. Again, everybody was watching. You didn't have to be a CMT or anyone that was like, everyone noticed that the market wasn't moving anywhere for a long time. So the fact that we are finally moving is something that everyone's excited about. And then when people get too excited about the breakout, makes sense that we chill out here a little bit. I'm just bummed that my only long trade I took today is not participating with this market rip. So yeah, I'm not thinking that we're going to have a day like yesterday where we did that undercut on news and then we rip all day. I'm more agreeing with Mitch here that we could just be up a little bit, down a little bit, chopping around back and forth while we wait. And again, I think that's bullish. I expected a little bit of a pullback today, maybe choppy into tomorrow as well. And then those job numbers are the things that decide whether this is a good breakout or a failed breakout as well. So
yeah, I think that's definitely something to watch. We'll see what happens here, guys. Market's kind of just still hanging in there. I mean, it's right by the open price. I think that's what a lot of what I'm watching right now.
Yeah,
at least the Qs.
So that means, right, we were green at one point today, we were red at one point today, and then we're right back down in the middle. So
just playing it, right? Ping-ponging essentially between the day. We put a high above the pre-market range. We put a low below the pre-market range, right? We expanded the range, right? And so now we need to see what happens with that, right?
Which is hilarious for the algos that played them. Well, the algos have played the news, right? They're all of them lost money today.
Oh, good. Those are the craziest algos. I don't even understand it. I guess they just kill it on a trade or two, and that just covers for so many trades. But
that's exactly it. I knew a bunch of hedge funds that did that. They are so fast that they're in and then they're immediately out if they're wrong, and it's purely a large alpha play you're looking to get. One of those days that
like him's run yesterday off the news, right? Like
yeah,
if you get that run, you get a 10, 12, 13% run off of a report that came in, and it wasn't an expected report, right? And you have the ability to grab it, well then you can catch it up the ride really fast and sell it even in the pre-market, or sell it to the open, right? I think that's what happened on HIMS. You got some people that were buying that move, and then it was such a big move, they just sold it at the open.
Yeah, you get an algo that catches, the moment the news comes out, makes that huge gain, and then they're out. That's same with a lot of funds out there. I know that get the IPO price that none of us can get, and then the second the thing IPOs, they're a seller. And there's a fund that I knew that just did that. His whole
Well,
business model was he had a lot of friends, and they would give him the pre-IPO before it went out, and then the second it IPO'd, he'd dump it, and you make a pretty good shot there. So
our cat hanging on here, guys. You guys can take a look at that one. It's still a nice little setup here off the VWAP and 9 EMA. It's right below VWAP, held the 9 EMA. Could make another run there if you're looking for stocks that are bullish. And we'll see what happens on that. Tesla still on the fade.
Yeah, well, I'm looking for it now. We talked about this 333, right? You could probably go all the way 331. These lows, prior lows right here, that there's buyers. We've undercut that. Now we're rallying back through. So again, through VWAP, I'm going to buy this for a day trade. But if this thing closes above, you can see the same shaded zone is right here. If we close above this, above 333, I think I'm going to add to that long position that I've got, an average around 290, 298, I think 290 or 278, somewhere around here is my average, right? I bought a bit here and bought a bit here, right? Just buying in this zone. So if that rallies back through, I'll probably end up taking a bit of a long there, and then just seeing if this nice, clean, orderly pullback, if this support holds. So that's what I'm basically playing off of. If this support holds, I'm going to buy some. If this support breaks, then I'll probably dump a little bit more of my shares and wait for a lower price or something to move. But a lot of that is kind of happening today, where when we had that sell off, you're looking at, okay, what sold off? And now we're right back to VWAP. So a lot of things could have put in this kind of undercut and rally. And these might be the perfect day, Mitch, for that strategy that you're coming up with of the undercut and rally, because especially we knew there was a news event 30 minutes into the day. So on days like that, it might be good to kind of take that first 30 minutes off completely and just build a list of these are the things that I'm going to look for this undercut and rally, because if that's kind of what's happening here, then you've got a list of like 5 or 10 names. You just start punching into them, leave for the day, exit on the close, right? Put in a trailing stop or something like that.
We'll see what happens here, guys. Still a little mix in the battle out there. And it's 10:22, guys. I feel like today's been a little bit slow for the open, so maybe look for a hot afternoon. And that's how it can happen sometimes. You're noticing choppy action in the open. It's okay to just be like, hey, I'll wait a little bit later, see if I can take like a one trade in the afternoon and actually nail a trade, right? Versus just keep playing this chop, right?
And this is exactly what happened, right? So we wrapped the show, right here? Yesterday, and it looked the same, and then it had this trend trade all day.
Yeah,
a little bit of a dip pullback that got bought.
They keep doing this. It's a trend that I see: the selling of the close, the buying of the open, and maybe even the buying of the close. They're just selling it off into that move, and then they're buying it. The next day it's up, they're selling it, right?
Well, there's that. There's an ETF, I think, that does it now, but there was that famous study that if you buy the open and sell the close every day on the S&P 500 for like the last 30 years, your returns are about flat. If you buy the close and sell the open on the S&P 500, you actually beat the market, right? Just basically saying most of the gains happen overnight, which if you think about risk versus return, it makes perfect sense. You're taking on that overnight risk, so you should be rewarded for that overnight risk. Also,
makes sense.
Where companies report earnings, right? Earnings growth moves the market, so you're dealing with all that. So that's a very common one. And again, one of those things where I have a one of the strategies that I'm looking for next when it comes to swing trading. I'm very interested in potentially building something like that with the swing trading accounts that we have here, where just here is your list of stocks. You buy all these and short all these on the open or on the close, and then you cover them the next open. So I'd have 2 accounts, one that trades from open to close, and the other one that trades from close to open. I think that'd be a pretty cool way to do it, to make sure I'm maximizing buying power.
Yeah, not a bad way at all. Q's still just battling here, guys. We'll see what happens here. I'm waiting. How'd that downgrade on Apple do them? Oh, where did you know it? Apple's up when they get downgraded.
It was one of my favorite trades. I would sit down. Part of my work when I was day trading for a living was just that. Let me find all of the upgrades and all of the downgrades for the day and look to fade those, because these guys are so insanely wrong that taking the other side of that is usually the way to do it. And that was always a good one. Also, the Kramer always, I don't know if he still did, but back then, because there was no internet TV, we'd always turn it to CNBC only for one time. It was like 3:20 or something in the afternoon. Kramer would come on, and you would just, the second he said anything, you would take the opposite trade, and it was like pretty good money. And again, this was before like algos and all of this, when you could do a lot of that fun stuff. So
all right, guys. Looks like I might take the hit in the day trade account and then look to do better in the swing. And that's what it's about sometimes. We'll see what happens here. About to get cut here in the VXX position. If the Qs get back above that 528, that's going to be that sign right here. Just waiting to see what happens. Apple could have
another beauty to hit there too of multiple accounts, right? As Mitch basically just saying, my day trading is not working out for me. Took 3 swings and struck out. It's just the nature of it. Probabilities, you can be right 80% of the time, and you're still going to be wrong 3 times in a row, quite frequently, mathematically. And you go, okay, well, let me just completely shut off the day trading side of my brain, start looking at some swings. And especially the fact that most swings seem to happen way better in that afternoon. You get to kind of clear your head a bit and then go from there. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. Q's trying to make that pop here. This is a big one to watch here. You should start seeing some stocks try to lift with this Q's move. Let's see if it starts to hold it, right? Looking for a nice little expansion away towards like 528.50s. That will give you that strength sign.
Yeah, nice little lift here. We're getting close to highs of the day. If we get close to highs today, I think there's going to be a lot of shorts that get out, that they undercut. And again, just could be pure coincidence, but just look at the exact low of the day is the 2-day VWAP for the day. See it happen too often. I mean, look at something like Hood. I just looked back at it on another screen, undercut my out price just by a little bit, and then away we go. Lily, yeah. So listen, stop talking about Lily. I've got a big position in it. Nobody jinx it. Yeah, it's one of those. I talked about this a bunch. It's very clean support. I like the fact that it undercut that support and then rallied back through. Very rarely does a support zone this clean work out. But, I was risking $25 a share to make $250 a share. So it's going to be a 10 or 20 times our play. I'd be dumb not to take it, even though I don't expect it to work, right? Even if it's one of those, you got a 20% chance of winning, but you're going to make 20R. That's still a huge mathematical gain. So that's what I'm looking at here. So.
All right, we'll see what happens out there, guys. Going to continue the battle. I am done on the day trading side there. Took the hit there. I was riding on a lovely 7-day winning streak. So there it goes. There she goes. And TEM, really the cause of this, right? I mean, look at it. I should be green on the trade. That's what frustrates the living heck out of me, right?
Well, again, that's your undercut and rally trade right there.
Trade was there.
Market hose and
just didn't play it well. The trade was there, just didn't play it well, guys.
I am very, very interested. Right, there's many steps to systematize it, but I'm very interested in this play. I think I'll probably use 30-minute charts for it, but
that's the best one I've seen. That's at least from what I've been doing a little research further, Michael. 30-minute chart, because it's the perfect in between the 15 and the hour. The hour might just be too big.
Yeah.
and
And
you're
that
waiting for
first
too many
30
candles.
minutes,
Right.
I think that's important too, because of what we saw with these economic numbers. So what I'm thinking of, and again, we're talking out loud, so definitely feedback from the chat. Because again, if this will just benefit you guys if we're able to make this system, is a very simple scan that basically says, okay, I'm looking for a candle that is the low is under the pre-market lows, but
Taking
the
a swing on
close
our
of that candle is above the pre-market lows. And then we just build a list, because that's a very easy scan for me to build. So yeah, again, we're looking for the low to be under this pre-market low, and then the close above this pre-market low. And if we can do that, that's a pretty easy way to do that. And then all you do is you make your list every day of the stocks that you think have this potential, stocks in play that could do this undercut and rally. And then at 10, I was about to say 11 because 11 my time, but 10, you just get this flurry of alert that here is the list of, I don't know, 100 in play stocks that you have. Here is the 10 to 20 that are meeting this criteria, and then you just go down that list and then pick the ones that you like, just buy them, right? I could come up with a little position sizing box right here that says, hey, if you're going to buy it here and your stop's going to go at the low of the day, that's that's something that is very simple to do. So you just go through your list, and the ones that you end up liking, they would just tell you exactly how much to buy right here or short if we end up doing this on the other side. And then you just go through and you do those, and you just build a little. The idea is to potentially build a little long short portfolio. Maybe you got 5 longs and 5 shorts out of that. You're risking $100 on each of them. So if all of them lose, both the longs and the shorts, you're down $1,000. If you have any combination of that, you're down way less than $1,000. And then I'd say most times you'd actually probably do pretty well. And then rarely you would just absolutely murder it, right? Where your longs get stopped out pretty easily, and then your shorts just rip, or vice versa. So that's kind of the idea behind it. But yeah, I don't even think we need the high volume wicks. I think all we just need, again, I think it's the way to do it, is just I want a lower than the lowest value in pre-market, but I want the 30-minute close higher than, and then it's just about filling up the list at that point. The discretionary side of it is no longer the trade. We have the entry criteria, the stop loss criteria, the position sizing criteria, all of that sorted. The discretion goes in your morning scanning and saying, which of these do I think is in play enough? And you could create a list of 100, 200 stocks to scan if you really want it. But at that, it'd all be about focusing around 10, because you're going to get a flurry of alerts, maybe 10, 20 alerts, and you're quickly going through those and just setting your trade if you end up taking it. So
yeah, I think what I would do there is this move is supposed to be what? Also a high volatility move, right? So maybe using like an ATR to determine what you're going after, right? Because you want to have some range with these stocks. The range is actually going to help you because you can be small with a good risk to return, right?
I think you do that by, because I think you pick the stocks manually. So I think the list that you have is the list of stocks that are only stocks that you care about, right? So you're going through every day and you clear out the list every night, and then every morning you go back through the list and you clear it and you go through it. Again, this is not complicated to build. And then you can see how, in this for the chat, how we're taking an idea that we saw and missed a fair amount, and we're trying to systematize it. So then we know there would be one period of time every day where it's time to be laser focused, and that's when those alerts came through. Because the second those alerts come through, you've got to be focused, because you're setting your orders, because we want to buy it as it comes back through VWAP. So you're setting a buy stop at VWAP that has an OCO order that has one at the low of the day for your stop loss. The position sizing, again, can all be calculated for us, but it would be kind of one period time of extreme focus for like 2 minutes, So I think it could be pretty easy to do.
That APLD, I'm still kicking myself for not swing trading that. I mean, that might have made the account itself when I was looking at it in the morning of on Monday.
Yeah.
Man, that thing just continued strong, not giving me the ability to buy it. Um, I mean, this was an awesome trade there, and it was a good look. I just needed to chase a little bit in this one. But we'll keep watch. We'll keep watch for names like that. That's a big move there. APLD continuing.
Mm-hmm. Nice little push up there. And a big huge level, right? If you go to this APLD, right, it looks overextended because it is overextended, right, from $3 to 300. But if you zoom out, right, this is kind of stage one of this breakout. So this is one I think you keep on chart for a while, because if it, say it pushes up a little higher and then it pulls back and hits 11, you probably want to be buying that dip to 11 if it consolidates here for a couple days and then goes. Because you're talking all-time highs here at 35. That's still a lot of room from here. That's 3 times your money. If you're looking for any more of that, you're insane. So,
well, guys, looking at a little bit of some of the quantum names because they were moving all around. QBTS is just sideways here today. I think it would be an interesting play just to play it whichever way it goes, whether it's bullish or to the downside. I think both plays are playable here. So,
oof, yeah, what a sloppy kind of nightmare there, eh?
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing. That sloppiness leaves room for both sides, right? Like it could just be a wash in both directions. It could be a squeeze on the shorts that are trying to come in here above the 90 MA, which is always testy. And then the other thing is it's still a kind of a flaggy looking recovery that it could just keep pushing to. But one thing that leans me a little bit more to the downside is how much IonQ washed out today, and it's continuing to wash out, right? It's not coming back. So that leans me a little bit more towards if we do get a quick whipsaw in the market, maybe you start to see some down action actually go to these names. Rigetti also losing altitude pretty quickly today.
Yeah, my Asana, not quite yet, but it's very, very close to stopping me out. So that will probably be a good trade on Hood, a good trade on CoreWeave, and then likely, unless it just reverses on a dime here and just rips a new high, which I don't expect.
I actually even feel like that Hood could be another trade there. I think coin is still leaking. It still looks pretty weak there, not coming back to the VWAP and showing me more and more that Hood could just reject here on the VWAP and come right back down. But that's just what I see out there.
Well, and the setup looks good for me. It's just, I went through my data and I studied the time. And
later in the day,
first hour, this setup falls apart. The only time I've noticed,
I'll tell you that there's a big reason why, Michael. Big part of it is this is like the VWAP fade strategy, right? But the big part is like you get 3 resistance tries a lot of the times on these VWAP tests, and if it tests that resistance again, the third resistance, a lot of times you get a squeezing action through that. You don't want to be in that squeezing action. It's more better to play it on the first 2 waves down, right? Like that first wave of Hood down, then the second wave down, right? Those are usually the best fades. Like in this chart right there, you had it right there too. That chart right there shows another one, right? The first wave, support break. It comes back to VWAP, then support break again, right? 2 waves. On this third try though, it could be the squeeze back recovery. That's why I think I'm with you that, the first 2 waves make sense. The third wave is usually the continuation wave, but it's also the wave that squeezes back.
Yeah, and the only time that I've noticed this setup work in the afternoon at all is if it's kind of something like this ASAN where, yes, it triggered, but really just by like a penny. But if it spends the whole day under or over VWAP and then it breaks like in the afternoon, maybe. But yeah, and this is, again, just for the audience, this is the importance of journaling and studying your trading, because it's you need to know these things. You need to know this is when my setup works, this is when my setup doesn't work. And so many people out there, I don't know why they don't journal their trades. It's very simple to do and just insanely important. Because as I was building this strategy, I went and I tested, and some things I noticed is it doesn't work well on these crazy low floaters. So I remove those, and it doesn't work well in the afternoon, so I remove those. And then the beauty of it is that creates another question where these don't work very well in the afternoon. So now it got my head spinning, and that's why you see a lot of alerts come through here that I'm going to start testing and talking about a little bit, that these trigger all day, because your goal should always be to max out as much buying power as you possibly can, assuming you have edge, right? Yeah. Assuming there is edge in what you're doing, because idle buying power is money that's sitting there. Doesn't mean that you're just always taking trades kind of randomly, but if you discover a trade with edge, you want to trade as much as possible, right? And I know that's kind of contrary to what a lot of people say, but from the systematic side of things, if I ever have $1 sitting in my account not doing anything, I feel kind of bad about it. So I want to do something, whether it's a different time frame, a different security, a different setup in general, whatever it is. I need to do something, because if my money's just sitting there, it's not making me any money. So
yeah, we'll see what happens here. Market's still kind of holding on, a little choppy on the day here, but probably just going to not do much. We'll see what happens if we get a move here. We did get a little bit of a wick, and it's just kind of staying in the chop zone. So you just got to be careful out there.
Yeah, we faked out. We got the longs all excited this morning and dropped. Then we got the shorts all excited after that news event, and then we ripped. So now that both sides are equally upset, now the market can do whatever it wants. But again, if we zoom out to the long term, this is perfect, because we broke out of this 595 yesterday. It was this 595 and a half. We've been talking about 595 and a half for ages.
Came back there. Just be careful.
Test it, and away we go. So
VIX recovery there. We'll just see what happens out there, guys.
Yeah, so we're pulling back. We're back to VWAP here on the SPY. So we'll see if that's something that holds or not. Again, just a range-bound type of day. And after the crazy day we had yesterday, I don't think a range-bound day is that bad at all.
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And you're getting these wicks down, but this quick buys back, right? So that's what you want to see if you're a bull here. Yeah. We'll see what happens here, guys. Just be careful out there.
PPLT is platinum. So platinum is triggering here on a swing trading setup that I have. So maybe I've been watching this for a long time. See if we finally break this particular base. I know that's not exciting, like a low float penny stock or anything like that, but this chart on platinum is very interesting to me, because it's just been basing forever. And you can see with, if I just find a flat, is there just a, yeah, so here's just a CFD. When platinum gets going, it can get going. Like the last time we had a big breakout in platinum was a long time ago, but it went up 500-600%. So
not saying this is how the commodities are, right? They're a long-term trend watch.
Yeah. They do nothing until they do everything. That's exactly the way that.
But that helps also, because that means you don't have to care about it until it does something, right?
Why you'll see a lot of trend followers trade commodities quite a bit, because if you're just looking to, like this PPLT is a trend following setup, and it's essentially just it's not going to do anything while the market's doing this. It's not going to care about this in any way, shape, or form. But when it breaks out, that's why you'll see a lot of trend followers on commodities do they call it an end period break. So like, don't show me anything until it breaks its 100-day high or whatever. And then I'm going to buy it. I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to put a stop loss on it and then trail that stop really, really widely, knowing that I'm wrong most of the time. And every now and then I'm going to get, platinum going up 500%, or what was it, Coca last year? That was just insane.
On the VWAP or close to the VWAP, could be a VWAP fade. It's trying to come back there. It went down crazy amount out the gates, almost $8 down out the gates on Palantir. We'll see what happens right near VWAP there.
And this is more evidence of right. This is what you want to see on all-time high breaks, right? It's back and filling. It comes back to this prior high at 125. And then puts in a little bit of a bounce there. Again, this is very bullish. This is what makes the handle in cup and handle. You have the big cup, and then when it hits that all-time highs, you want this kind of back and forth action. You don't want it to kind of crash back down. You want dips to get bought, all that kind of stuff.
All right, guys, the swing trade's working well, but gonna keep looking to see what happens in RCAT here. RCAT starting to come back there. Doesn't look bad. We'll see if it can actually make the move back up. I got it on the swing on 753s. Essentially, my idea was 750. I'll risk 7, see if it can get back through 8 and start making the bigger breakout. At least I held back on trying to buy the 8 earlier today, and then just trying to get closer towards a 50-cent risk versus a dollar risk in this name. So we'll see what happens there in RCAT.
Yeah.
I still think that
kind of looks a lot like the market, right? Where the market had that dip and then recovery. Same with RCAT, same with a lot of these things.
Yeah. Qs are still showing a lot of weakness for me, guys. It's just been kind of a slow move, guys. And I think that what we need to be careful of is the big move down. So just like always, like we've been winning on the upside, but remember that at some point you might get caught. So make sure that you're expanding and taking wins as you go. So a lot of what we've been seeing in the market is selling the rip and buying the dip has been working, right? At some point that might change, but especially selling the rips right now seems to be the move. When you're getting moves where it just rips, a lot of the times they're coming right back down, right? So if we sell those rips and then buy the dips, that's probably going to be a better strategy in the time being. This is more current environment talk, and I think it's very important to focus on that. See what trends you're seeing. So we'll see if that trend changes here. And really, when you think about it, we're not going up, but we're not going down. It's kind of just hourly sideways. That's why I would pay attention to the hourly candles today on the overall market, because you can just see it more and more how we're just taking a sideways action right now.
Yeah, and that's right.
There's Palantir rejecting 128. I don't think Palantir wants to come back today, at least today. That might be him's also kind of fading off. It just seems like momentum names are dying down a little bit.
Yeah, and well, with both these, right? If you look at both these, they've had insane runs. So this sideways consolidation, kind of overall bullish, needs a little bit of rest. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, wrong with that.
Could totally happen. And I'm saying it all day. This is what I think could be happening with the market as well. It's what we kind of want to see, right? We're up 4 days in a row. We just broke a major resistance level that everybody was watching. Is rest a couple days, 2-3 days would be great. Today and tomorrow I think would be fantastic, and then into Friday, where we have those reports, those job numbers, that could be the catalyst to get us going, right? But we just, any action right now that's not breaking yesterday's low, I think is bullish action. Pulling back into 592, 593, I think that's all very bullish action as long as it holds there.
Looking for RCAT to keep going here. We'll see if it just keeps chugging along. It's doing really well here. If it breaks through this, it's really all about the 8 for me. It's already gotten out of the bull flag, and now it's kind of more what happens out of the bull flag, right? So now it's hold short-term moving averages and just keep chugging. And RCAT was as pretty as a flag gets, I would say. Can't get prettier than that on RCAT. I'll show you guys it right quickly here. You guys can see it. It's just, that's as pretty as it gets. Yeah, you're not going to see many flags that symmetrical, and these are the ones that I like going after a lot. Why? Because you can clearly see where the support is going to. You can also see where the resistance is going to, right? And this is why I talk about my rule of 3, guys. Up one action, and you're looking for down action really to show, right? So then you look for support attempts, right? And so this is exactly what this is doing. It's kind of bouncing in between here. So you're just looking for, when does it come back to the resistance? So the down move is here, then it comes back to the resistance here, right? So every time it hits the trend line, you can kind of look for that to be resistance 2. You get support 2 right through here. Now we're really kind of breaking back out, right? And so on that third try, you're looking for that kind of expansion away. Now you're starting to really start to break away from that, right? So you want to be seeing that chopping action and using that chopping action to do what, right? To kind of improve averages. You'd be buying on these supports, looking for it to get out of this eventually, right? And that's what we're looking for in this case now for RCAT to just continue getting out, and then maybe doing a little pullback towards 8, and then a real continuation move higher, right? So that's kind of the trade idea drawn out on RCAT. We'll see what happens if it just wants to keep moving.
Yeah, I like the idea. It's definitely an in play name. It's definitely a sector that people care about. So
Grail
nice.
coming back is one to watch later in the day for you traders that like to see things get hot. Well, this thing's been battling the bottom. Let's see if it makes a big breakout to the upside. I can tell you guys so many names watching this. If it breaks through the 42 on a quick move, that's really where I think you'll start to see some buyers really step up. And that's what I'm looking for, because then once it gets to that 42, I'm up about $2 or $3, 80 shares. I'm starting to look really good there. So we'll see what happens on that one. Got 80 shares of that. AMD doing well on the nice recovery move. Same move we like, right? Look what happened. Moved down through the support, coming back. I'll be watching for AMD to hold 116. Remember 116 was the battling price yesterday on the price action that I was trying to trade long. It eventually broke that, went to 118, but now trying to create support at the prior resistance day, right? Which was around the 116. This is why sometimes it's important to watch your stock and know the stock that you trade. Like I know some traders that really know Tesla and really know how it performs. Or in this case, if you really watched AMD, you know how it performed yesterday. You know where the tough area was. So you could look for that tough area to act as support. Yesterday, it just kept trying that level. Now it's actually trying to use that level as support.
Some good looking swings, right? And one of the benefit is, as much as it sucks when you're either stopped out or done day trading for the day, is that you get that ability, right? You get that ability to kind of sit back and say, "Hey, I'm just gonna theory craft a little bit." Right?
No way. Oh, good Lord. I saw it in the chat and I couldn't believe it. Joey.
So it's that time got picked up by a Discord room somewhere.
The Molinator, man. The Molinator. This thing will give you cavities. It will make you go straight to the dentist and get yourself some drilling action for sure, man. Holy moly. Look at the halts.
This is the one that
2, 3. And remember, what did I say about 3 halts? After the third halt comes a down halt. It did do the down halt, but then it said, you know what? Let's go for 3 more halts. Let's go 1, 2, 3 halts. Now I'd be looking for that down halt to maybe come back into play, but we'll see what happens there in Molin. Oh man. Don't touch Molin.
There's the advice right there. Don't do it.
It's like giving your kids a straight sugar before they go to bed.
Bad idea. It's what, 20 quadrillion or something crazy is the all-time high for that price.
Oh man, that's crazy. Well, here's a crazy stock itself. Have you guys seen the move that happened in MCTR?
Yes, that was a
crazy
one yesterday.
Advertising agency up there to $45 from $4.55. Yes, you heard that right.
Why not?
This thing just absolutely ripped yesterday from around 12:30 to the close. It made a 346% move.
Sure, why not?
Why not? Right?
Why not?
Sometimes you'll find these crazy movers, guys.
Well, and that's right. And more evidence, more things to look for that the market doesn't care. It's just going to do what it's going to do. Trying to figure it out just gives you more gray hair.
Arcato.
I got enough.
Arcato.
Yeah, it's a nice
Somebody
look.
fly a drone. It looks like it's just a drone takeoff. Ha ha, pun intended. What do their drones look like? I need to throw it up on the chart. RCAT. Let's go learn about RCAT right quick before we get out of here, guys. How about we learn a little bit more about what the hell RCAT really does?
RCAT drones.
All right. Ooh, look. Ooh.
Are you on their homepage too? Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta
Ooh,
look. You
very
see?
fancy.
You know what the key here is? Military.
Yeah.
That's where the gold is, guys. There's a private company that I know Matt Higgins is behind, and he's on the board, and he just recently made this investment. Matt Higgins knows what the hell he's doing, guys. He's one of literally the smartest and richest friend I know. So I would really focus in on trying to find ways to make money on this, right? So RCAT is the only truly public drone company that you can just kind of grab for military approach, right? So I've just been
Oh, did you scroll down to the bottom? Red Cat partners with Palantir to equip. So there you go.
Oh, that won't be a bad report, right? I mean,
I think it's one of those hardware software partnerships, right? You guys build the
yeah,
drones, we'll build the up a little right there. Or no, it's down way more than that.
yeah, it's right over here.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one to take a look at. Where if we're gonna build the hardware and you're gonna build the software, and then we'll put together. Looks like it's a little bit older news for them. Could have been what caused this part of this breakout, but this daily chart on RCAT, I do really like the look of. If we stick the landing today, it's a clean breakout, and we got highs of what, $15.
They already did their nice offering, right, in April 10th, and it's continuing, right? And so
That's good.
You don't have to stress too much that they're going to raise money immediately. Usually a company raises money and then has at least let's say, what do they call it? A runway, right? Runway to go make those plans happen. And then when that runway ends, they'll start looking to raise money again. So what you want to see sometimes in these smaller names is that they already did raise the money that they needed.
Well, yeah, and it's generally a rip the Band-Aid off approach. They'll look at their burn rate and they'll say, we need we need an IPO.
Mm-hmm.
So, or we need a couple years, let's say, of a runway. So it's kind of a rip the Band-Aid off. They're not going to raise enough to fund them for 6 months. If you're going to do a raise, you're going to do a raise, hopefully enough to fund you for a couple years. Again, just take the hit, right? Rip the Band-Aid off, raise a bunch of money. That's actually what killed AMC. Because AMC wanted to do, during the height of everything, they wanted to do a big raise, but all of the weird conspiracy theorists out there stopped them. When their price was super high, the CEO was like, I want to raise like $50 billion and just go huge and do one giant raise and then not have to dilute shareholders again. And the shareholders voted no, so they couldn't do it. So that's why he did that whole, I don't know if you remember, he did the ape preferred share spinoff and then rebuy and all this. It was all fancy accounting to try to get their company. Then they've had to do raise after raise after raise. So they've had to kind of do with death by 1,000 cuts, where you hope it's like, our share price is a bit high, let's do a big raise. If the market can stomach it, then it can start going again, right?
What if we find out that drone strike that was really popular this weekend, at least in the news, was it an RCAT drone? It says right here, clear as day, that they shipped it to Ukraine, right? It could have been one of those 15. I mean, and news like that would definitely spike this stock, right? So,
because they're calling that like one of the biggest operations of that kind in the history of warfare. The fact that they were able to pull that off,
drive trucks into a country and then have them take off from different places inside of the country. That's how you strike. It's such a concern that I'm sure the U.S. itself was like, we need to be watching and being on alert for things like this, right?
I actually did some. I'm drinking this weekend with a buddy of mine who's higher up in our military, because my question is always now, what company can I buy to counter the drones? We know the drones are going to be a thing, right? And he's already talked about like mini EMPs and things like, they're obviously working on technologies to knock, because what do you do if somebody sends 1,000 drones at him? You can't shoot them. There's just too many. So you have to do something that's going to knock them all out of the sky. So that's going to be, so I'm going to chat with him to see, because I don't think he's allowed to take trades like that, but I can. So if he gives me anything, I'll let you guys know.
I'm going to take a little cash here on RCAT, guys, just in case we're going to have a turnaround type of day. This is where I didn't do this yesterday, and it kind of frustrated me, guys. I should be up on the swing account, like, let's say, close to $500. The goal is only $1,500. I could have literally got 30% done in like 2 days of trading.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to also think about what happened yesterday. Part of what I wanted to tell you guys today is also about understanding the difference between a funded and an eval, right? So like yesterday, I wanted to keep this NNE trade because on the funded account, I probably would keep it 9 out of 10 times because it's a really good breakout that could continue trending, right? And those are the ones that really give us the big rewards. Now, the key is in an eval, you're for a specific goal. It's not just continued money, right? Yep. You're not looking to just make a lot of money because that's not going to give you money in your pocket. You're just looking to get a goal. So sometimes you got to think of the percentage of goal that you're trying to obtain. Yesterday, even the $300 on that 1,500, and I'll do the math just to actually do the calculated math, right? What's the percentage? I'm sorry, I can't do it in my head. I used to be better at these percentages, but like, let's say just overall, I think it's like 15%. But just to kind of put it wholly, 20%. So 20% of the account goal I had overnight, really easy. You take that, right? You take that opportunity and reward and you keep moving forward, right? Because 20% in one trade is really, really good for the goal, right? So sometimes thinking in the goal mindset might take you to take some profits a little early in the eval, but realize that that's what you're trying to do in the eval. You're trying to get to a certain goal with profits, and it's not sometimes taking the bigger swing on that longer term trade. It's stacking up the money and getting to that goal. Then you can worry about taking those bigger swings when you're funded to take a real big paycheck to your house, right? It's just something that I'm thinking about, and I think it's important to think about the differences, right?
Right. Yeah, and you know, it's 100% on purpose. They're trying to improve consistency. There's these rules around them. So, you know, play those rules and, you know, don't do anything that is crazy to blow up the account or something to kind of gamble your way in. But you understand there's rules you have to play by. And then you get the funded account. You size down dramatically, which was the mistake that I made. But yeah, you size down dramatically, and then your whole goal then is just not to lose the account, right? To keep it around and go from there. But in that beginning, take the trade, man.
We'll see what happens, guys. You guys see the swings. I'm always telling you guys how it is and what's happening here. Close to that 10%, right? I talked about how I want to take them at 10%. If I just get 10% today, I might just take RCAT and just run with the cash, guys. I'm going to be watching in for it. I'll probably just ride the 90 EMA trend and maybe just trail it once it gets past 10%. But we'll see what happens on this and what happens in the trading action. Like always, stay right here. Trade the pool, guys. We'll keep battling. Follow Michael Noss, follow myself. You guys see us on Twitter, and we're going to be expanding the information that we provide for you guys out there. So there's one thing that I need you guys to do that watch us every single day. What do you really like about this show? Let us know in the comments below, because we're looking to make some changes. And the number one way that you can help us change is by giving us the feedback. So we'll be looking towards the comments for that feedback. And trust me, you'll get replies from myself to show how much I'm looking at those comments and really interested in your feedback. So we'll see that there. Like always, Michael, have a good rest of your trading day, and we'll keep battling out there. And like always, traders, don't only just trade here. Go check out the Discord. There's a lot of great traders there, and you never know who you might meet. See you next time.